All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something really interesting today, a revolutionary movement that looked at an ending and decided, nope, this is actually a beginning. And we're going to explore this whole story through the lens of a fascinating digital archive called Americanas Zapatistas, which really documents their journey and their global call to action. So, picture this. It's New Year's Day, 1994, and out of the jungles of Chiapas, Mexico, you hear this roar, "Ya basta." It means enough is enough, or it's over. Now, what's really wild is that this was the exact day that NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, officially kicked off. That was no accident. This was a powerful, deliberate message from a group called the Zapatista Army of National Liberation, or the EZLN. But this roar, it wasn't just about some trade deal. It was so much deeper than that. This was a crack in history. You have to imagine centuries of oppression, of injustice, just layered on top of each other, passed down from one generation to the next. And in that moment, all of that quiet suffering, all that endurance, it just stopped. It was a collective no more. So that leads us to the real heart of what we're talking about today. Okay, so you say it's over, but what if that's actually just the beginning? The Zapatistas said a way of life was done. But the really incredible part, the real story, is what they did next. I mean, how do you go from saying we're done with this to actually radically building a whole new world from scratch? Okay, so let's get into it. Section 1, building a new world. Because this is where we really move past just saying no. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of what happens next. The Zapatistas weren't just about tearing something down. They started building something completely new, right in the shadow of the old system. And this, wow, it really lays it all out. It's like a tale of two systems, right? On one hand, you've got the standard playbook, the top-down state. Everything's centralized, there's a clear hierarchy, and one set of laws for everybody. But then you look at the Zapatista way, it's the complete opposite. It's distributed, collective, horizontal, meaning everyone's on the same level, and it's built on this amazing idea that there isn't just one right way, but many worlds that can exist together. And look at this. This isn't just some high-minded theory. This is real, on-the-ground stuff. They actually built their own municipalities run by community assemblies where everyone has a voice. They set up their own health clinics and schools. They even created these incredibly important women's revolutionary laws to bake gender equity right into the system. This is what self-governance actually looks like, day in and day out. So we've seen the what they physically built. Now let's get into the how. How do they think? This section is all about their new political language. Some scholars call it an ontology of resistance, which sounds complicated, but it just means it's not about changing politics, it's about changing your whole way of being. This whole philosophy is called Zapatismo. But here's the key thing to get. This is not a strict rulebook or some rigid ideology. Think of it more like a living, breathing set of practices. It's a mix of indigenous traditions, a clear stand against neoliberalism, and a really deep, fundamental commitment to making decisions collectively as a community. And at the absolute center of all this is one word: autonomy. But for the Zapatistas, autonomy isn't some piece of paper a government hands you. No way. It's something you do every single day. It's the practice of running your own schools, your own healthcare, your own justice system. You see, it's about building your own reality, right now, instead of just asking the old one to please recognize you. What's also so unique is how they use symbols as a form of political action. I mean, think about the famous black ski masks. They're not just to hide identities, they're a statement. They make everyone equal, amplifying the one collective voice. And their official statements? They aren't dry press releases. They're often beautiful stories, almost like fables. They're literally using language to create the world they want to live in, not just to describe the one they have. And this is maybe their most powerful, most famous idea of all, a world where many worlds fit. Just think about that for a second. It's a total rejection of the idea that there's one right way to live, one right system for everyone. Instead of one universe, they imagine a pluriverse, a place where all sorts of different worlds, different cultures, different ways of life can all fit together without trying to erase each other. So the big question is, how on earth did this super local movement in southern Mexico become this massive inspiration for people all over the planet? Well, that's what we're digging into next, how their ideas traveled from Chiapas and went global. And this flowchart really breaks it down for us. Step 1, it starts local. It has to. It's the actual real-life practice of autonomy in the Zapatista communities. Then, step 2, that practice gets turned into those powerful stories and communiques we talked about. Step 3, the internet. Digital archives, blogs like Americanas Zapatistas grab these stories and create this global meeting point. And that leads to the final step. It becomes a call to action, inspiring a whole network of people around the world to build their own versions of this. And this, right here, is maybe the most important takeaway. The message isn't, be like us, do exactly what we did. Not at all. The message, which blogs like Americanas Zapatistas help spread, is, learn our logic, but adapt your own forms. It's about taking the core principles, autonomy, community, dignity, and figuring out what that looks like where you live, in your context. Which, believe it or not, brings us to our final section. And this is where the whole story kind of flips the script and points the question right back at all of us. So the question they're really asking is this: where is your enough is enough moment? What are the things in your own life or in your community that you're just quietly putting up with? What's the injustice you've been told is just the way things are? And what would it actually take to stand up together and say acabó? It's over. And that leads to the final and maybe the most challenging question they leave us with. It's not just what will we change, it's what will we become. It shifts everything. The focus isn't on what system you're tearing down, but on who you are becoming as you build something new in its place. It's not about the destination, it's about the transformation. And that's a question worth spending some time with.